they may be some of the more special ones, and obviously a nice break when it came to 2015 to not be beating St Helens in a final. I'm guessing. Alan, you said to me before you've not watched anything this week. You've been busy trying to write an essay, I believe.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I'm sorry, I just can't get excited about watching a match from 2015. I just don't care enough. And it's actually nothing to do with the fact that we weren't, in the top league at that point. If I'm looking for a classic game, I'm looking for something that,
like the 2007 game from the Magic weekend, I suppose. Is what
yeah. That's like the only thing that's kind of outside the last decade. It's just Anyway, show us some real classics. That's what we want.
So, what I've watched then over the last week. I don't know if people have been following along on my own Twitter feed, but I wear a different Wigan shirt every day, from the oldest one I've got to the newest one I've got. I'm on day 25 today. I've only got 2 left to wear, and I spoke to my mum earlier. She was like, "What are you going to wear when you finish that?" And I was like, "Well, other clothes, Mum." I just don't have to have an order to what I wear anymore. The world's my own.
Start them again.
But anyway, yeah. But on Friday, it just so happened that was the day I was wearing the 2017 home shirt, which was the shirt we wore in the 2017 World Club Challenge for Wigan when we beat the Sharks. Of course, a day that goes down firmly in memory for Super League Pod, because our old co-host Tom was caught right at the start of the footage. He tried to get into the game and have no one notice him. That was the kind of character Tom always was around the show and that sort of stuff. So
it was very understated, that costume, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, definitely. So yeah, anyone who watched it who's newer to the show, our old co-host Tom, he was a Bradford fan as well, like Alan. It still is. I'm speaking about him like he's dead. He's just not on the show anymore. He still is a Bradford
fan. He's just dead to us.
And he wore a shark costume because his Australian club is the Cronulla Sharks, and he was so he came to the game in a full shark costume and was caught by the cameras just before kickoff. But that was the last time during the game I think he stood up, because Wigan and especially the Golden Edge roundly destroyed the Sharks. So I watched that game, that RL rewind game from that night, and then I've also thought, well, why not watch some more old World Club Challenge games? So I watched the game where we went to Brisbane and beat Brisbane in '94. Which was that's the first time I've ever sat down and watched that game in full. And boy, for like massive parts of that game, we were so dominant against basically the Queensland side, pretty much. So that was an enjoyable rewatch. And then at tea time today, before we started the show, guys, they showed the 1991 Challenge Cup final between Warrington and Wigan on RL Cares' Facebook stream, who are doing loads of great stuff. So Al, if you're yearning for games that are from before the last 5 years,
I need to find that.
That Facebook stream is where to go. I know you're not really big on Facebook, but you're going to have to set yourself up a burner account or something so you can watch the RL. Because I've asked them, are they putting them on YouTube? And they said, no one goes on our YouTube and watches it, Mark. So no matter how much money you try and raise for us for charity, we're not going to put it on YouTube. So you'll have to watch it on Facebook. But anyway, so that was another Wigan win that I watched, because I can't help it. But in that game, my former boss, Mark Preston, scored 2 tries as well, 2 fantastic tries. So yeah. So that was a nice one to have a watch. There you go. That's what I've been watching. So make sure, please, guys, you do watch some games over the next week, and look for the links to put your fan views in on the Google form so we can talk about some other games that aren't Wigan wins next week. Because I've got 2 days off work now, so I'm going to watch a fucking load of Wigan games, people. So get your games in to distract me from mine. But yeah, we're now going to move on to talking about prop forwards. And before you hear us talking about prop forwards, you'll hear the music. Then you'll hear me talking to Barrie Mack, mostly Barrie Mack, talking about prop forwards, because let's face it, he knows better than us. And then we'll talk about our favourite prop forwards with all your listener views as well. So we're talking about prop forwards this week on the show, and why not reach out to our friends in the wider rugby league community and get one of those to get involved. So we've got our great friend Barrie McDermott on the phone to talk about a position you know very well, Barrie.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Good to speak to you. Obviously, as you know, I'm an avid follower and an avid listener, so it's a pleasure to be on. So yeah, front row is a position that I think has evolved in my time watching the game intently. So I'd say my knowledge of front rowers comes from the late 80s to the present day. So in the late 80s, it was very much about the scrum. It was very much about providing number 8 and number 10, giving the hooker the best chance of getting the ball. Hookers were ball getters and prop forwards were people that sorted that scrum out. But as it evolved during my playing time, and then subsequently when I've started watching it, you have to fulfil many roles. And if I look at the modern day front rower, you've got to have a bit of ball play in your game. You've got to have an offload. You've obviously got to have that pace and power that it's always required that job, but I think you need to be a bit smart as well. But I'll tell you what, we've got some great front rows in the game at the minute. There's if I look at somebody like Liam Watts, I think Liam Watts could play in any era. Scott Taylor's the same. They could play in any era because they've got the ability to roll the sleeves up and do the tough stuff, but they're also street smart and game smart enough to get their way around the modern game now.
And they can play long minutes, those two guys you talked about, which is something that probably has changed a little bit from your earlier days to now. Because obviously when you started, there was 2 substitutes, and now there's all these substitutes going on.
Yeah. Well, so I turned pro in 91, and you're right, 2 substitutes and 4 interchanges was the way that the game rolled on. So if I started, I would do the first 20. And probably the last 20. If I was on the bench, I would do 60 minutes straight. So the game at the beginning of my career was very much about having a good engine and being able to maintain that good engine without ever really pushing yourself. And then as we got into 4 subs, and then we got into 4 subs with 8 interchanges, 10 interchanges, 12 interchanges, unlimited at international at one point, unlimited interchanges. It was all about being very fast, very explosive, and putting fast bursts of activity onto the field. So today's modern game, I like watching a front rower get past that tired phase. I like seeing what he's got in his locker, because then it's not just about how much of an athlete you are, it's about how determined you are, how big your potatoes are, and whether you can keep going when you're tired and fatigued, which, like I say, at different points of my career, I did probably 16, 17 years at top level. I had to adapt. I had to give the coach what he wanted, and I've always said it was a great lesson for me, and one that I tried to pass on to anybody that'll listen. You've only got to please one bloke, and that's the one that picks the team.
And occasionally you had to take your own sort of voluntary rest, didn't you, if you weren't getting subbed off by the coach?
Yes.
That's all part of the role. Who were the...
That was just the time. That was just the way it was back then. At the back end, I'd say 2004, 2005, it started to change a little bit, less confrontational, more the pack mentality, and rewind to 1991. If you played the game in the same way as I did in 2004, I'd get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
I'd get my ass kicked literally, because you couldn't allow anybody to take liberties with you. So therefore, to get on that front foot, and I have a great expression, getting your retaliation in first, that was the order of the day in the 90s. But quite rightly, the game's evolved, it's changed, it's moved on. We are so far beyond that now. I'm not sure we've done ourselves any favours in the modern game, because I like that stuff. I like watching it. I'm sure I'm not the only one that loves to see 2 big blokes, 2 big bulls in the middle of the field having a good go at it.
Well, we wouldn't pay so much for boxing, pay-per-view and UFC and stuff like that, would we, if we didn't enjoy a bit of biff? So who were the prop forwards that young Barrie looked up to that you wanted to aspire to play like?
Well, two two blokes that I had the great fortune to play with and play against and one with was Andy Goodway and Kurt Sorensen. So those two players I thought were aggressive, but had that reputation before they played, but also had the athleticism. I think when you look at Kurt Sorensen in particular, only short, 5'9", 5'10", similar to me, explosive, good footwork, had a pass, had an offload, but could mix it up. So when I was in that impressionable stage at 17, 16, 15, watching a little bit of Oldham rugby, but mainly watching the games on TV, you're a Wiganer, so you all watched I keep forgetting, Mark, you're nowhere near as old as me.
I know the names like Andy Goodway and Andy Platt and people like that, but they're slightly before my time watching.
Yeah, obviously you know your Wigan history. Andy Platt was another short, stocky bloke that just piled the ball in as much as he could. He hit hard, and I always liked the fact that he stood up when it came to Great Britain against Australia. So I liked the blokes that took it to the opposition. I liked the blokes that had a bit of rugby in them. They could play before the line, through the line, and I used to look at people like Martin Afire, Sean Edwards, Ellery Hanley during those great Wigan days, and think to myself, I'd love to be involved in a game and have that much involvement or that much of an influence on the game. You come away with that overall. As an Oldhamer, I didn't like watching Wigan because they bloody won everything, and it was awful to be in a game against Wigan. But you come away and you admired the fact that they were so good, and it was a case of going, right, well, we just need to up our standards as Oldham teams and as Oldham players, even as an amateur when I was playing against the Mick Cassidys of this world and the Andy Farrells and all those players who've come through the ranks at Wigan who were all my age, who seemed to be far better than us because of the exposure to those great players they got at a young age.
So you played obviously at the highest level though yourself, so you got that exposure during your career as well. So who was the toughest prop forward you would say that you came up against in your career, and who was the best one that you played alongside? You can't say yourself.
I'll give you a couple because I was really lucky, Mark. I played Australia, New Zealand, all those Samoans, Tongas, all those islanders, Pacific Islanders. They have a they have a certain trait. Those players, they like to hit you, they like to hit hard, and they absolutely buzz off it. So if you get a crack off one of them, they start screaming and shouting, and then you're sure you're going to get another one. But I think I always had a tremendous amount of respect for Shane Webke. I thought he was a great player with a really good engine and tough in as far as you couldn't make a dent in him. I went over in 2002 over to Australia for Great Britain. We played in a mid-season international. We got tonked in the end, but I played against Shane Webke there, and I knocked him up and down wherever we were in Sydney, and he just got up, played his ball, and his stats were phenomenal at the end of the game. I didn't notice at the time. I thought I was just zoning in on playing against Shane Webke, but the game, they were just that far ahead of us, because it was during that period of, it's less about me and you, it's more about that pack mentality. I think the bloke that did to me what I tried to do to everyone else was a bloke called Quentin Pongi, who played at Wigan.
Yes, yeah.
At the back end, but Q played early doors at Canberra, a little bit at Sydney Roosters with Moz. Me and Moz have had a few conversations about Q, but he was just unbalanced. I thought he had the capacity, the ability, and the intent at any point to flick that switch and knock your lights out. So he did a number on me like I tried to do to others. And I got so distracted and so preoccupied that I actually forgot about playing the game half the time. So he'd have been 33, 34 when he was at Wigan.
Oh, God, yeah.
But still hard as nails.
He looked about 44, I think.
Yeah, and he had that. He was grey as they come.
Yeah.
In his early 30s. Sadly, he died a couple of years ago.
Cool. Really sad.
I'll tell you, Mark, the great thing about